first of all, Dr. Robert Agrella, who is now the special trustee as of July 2013, the special trustee for the City College, who has full responsibility of the governance of the college, of the community college district. And he is a veteran leader of many community colleges in this state, as you will see from his bio. Then we have Joanne Low, a Vice Chancellor of Academic Affairs, interim, of City College, who's been with the college for 35 years. And finally, we have Dr. Fabienne McPhail Napes, who is the Vice Chancellor of Student Development and was appointed in July 2013 to that post. And so we're in very good hands in terms of people who currently really do play the leadership role in how City College is going to navigate through this very difficult period. So we'll start first with Dr. Agrella.
Thank you very much. And first of all, let me say that we all appreciate the opportunity to be here today, all three of us. Let me start out by saying, make sure that everybody's kind of on a level playing field with respect to the accreditation processes themselves. We are required to meet a certain set of what's called eligibility requirements and accreditation standards that are set by the Accrediting Commission here in the state of California. What's happened to City College, as you know, is that we do not at the present time meet all of those eligibility requirements and all of those standards, and have been placed on what is called show cause. It is the most stringent and most restrictive of any of the standards, any of the sanctions that could be applied to an institution. Now, we have been working for this past year. We actually found this out before I actually came to the institution. The institution found out in July a year ago that it was going to be placed on that show cause. And as a result of that, the institution had to do a rather extensive report that it turned in on March 15th of 2013. That report documented all of the progress of the institution in meeting those standards and eligibility requirements. That report was deemed to not fulfill all of the requirements in order to maintain accreditation. And let me just explain to you how the Accrediting Commission looks at whether you meet or don't meet. We made tremendous progress. We did a lot of work throughout the institution in governance structures, in finance, a number of different areas throughout the college. But when the Accrediting Commission looks at an institution, they look at it in a very, very simple way. It's a yes or it's a no on whether you meet the standard. And of course, we could be 50% at meeting the standard, we could be 90% at meeting the standard and so forth, and that's a no. So all of the progress that we made, which was substantial, still left us short, so we did not get off of the show cause determination. At that point in time, they gave us, this past July 3rd, we received the information that we were going to remain on show cause, and then we would possibly have our accreditation terminated on July 31st, 2014. What that really means is that we have to continue to show progress. The question was asked, and of course the big issue here really is, there's no question in anyone's mind that City College is really a piece of the fabric of the city and county of San Francisco. Everywhere I've gone, everyone I've spoken to has either taken a class or has a relative taking a class here. It's in the fabric of the city and county. What we want to continue to do is continue to make progress, make sufficient progress that July 31st, 2014 deadline will be pushed out a little bit. The commission, as we understand it, can do that if we make sufficient progress. And that's why what we are attempting to do right now is to continue to put the pedal to the metal and work as hard as we possibly can in meeting those eligibility requirements and those standards. A portion of the report that we had to turn in on March 15th, 2013 was what's called a closure report. That's a requirement whenever you are on that show cause sanction. That closure report must outline what is going to happen to the 85,000 students, what's going to happen to faculty, what's going to happen to staff, what's going to happen to all the records of the students that have taken classes during the history of the institution. We did a very, very brief report, thinking that we wouldn't have to do a more extensive report. We've now been asked to do, of course, a more extensive report on that closure, and that's the outline. So we will find ways of making sure that students who are currently enrolled in programs can complete those programs. That's called teaching out of the program. You have to get that accomplished. Students who have completed 75% of a program, you must teach them out. So, for example, if you were 3/4 of the way through a nursing program, what would happen? The institution would have to continue to teach those courses in that nursing program, not taking in any new students, but any student in that program would be so-called taught out. We have to make arrangements with neighboring institutions to be sure that they're aware that should City College, and this is all supposition, because I'm going to say in just a moment, none of this is going to happen, okay? Because we are going to maintain our accreditation. None of us would still be there. I wouldn't have taken this on if I didn't truly believe that we can maintain our accreditation. But I'm trying to just simply describe the steps that we must go through in order to meet the standards and stay with the commission. But we must find places for our students to transfer, and we have to find safe ways of keeping all of the student records. So it becomes a rather big job, obviously. But there are safeguards for students who are registered or in programs at the present time. Something that I found out is not understood well, and I found this out outside my office in Conlon Hall, when I heard a mother stop me and ask me I don't know whether my son should register here because I don't know whether his credits are going to be any good. Credits from an accredited institution are good for your lifetime. Okay, there are lots of institutions that come and go, particularly small private institutions. Those degrees, those credits are always good as long as you're coming from an accredited institution. That's very important in the life of City College at the present time, that students, parents, media understand that we are alive, we're well, we're fully functioning, we're fully accredited. As we go through all of these processes leading to the maintenance of our accreditation, you remain an accredited institution. And that's what we are now. We're working very, very hard to make sure that we meet those standards. We've done, as I said, a lot of work, and we will continue to do the work. What you folks can certainly do for us is help us get the word out that City College is alive and well and taking students. We need that word out there because our enrollment at the present time, quite frankly, is down. And it's down for probably two simple reasons. One is some of the publicity that has come out about the college, where it's actually stated that the college is going to lose its accreditation. We don't know whether it's going to lose its accreditation. We're working to maintain accreditation, and we're fully accredited at the present time. And the other impact that is always true with every community college anywhere in this country is that any time the unemployment in an area goes down, so does the enrollment in community colleges. And that makes sense simply because people then can again find jobs, those that will be taking classes either on a part-time or full-time basis, on finding jobs, getting employment, and so your enrollment. So it's a double whammy for us, okay? Some bad information that's gotten out, poor information that's gotten out, and then the good news for, of course, for the economy is that the economy is growing, and if you look at the state of California, the two areas where the economy is buzzing along the best, one is San Jose, and guess what? The other one is San Francisco. So I think that's probably hurt us as well. So with your permission, I'll try and stop there for a moment.
Okay, fine. Let's go to Joanne Low.
Good morning. Just wanted to comment a little bit about our academic program for this year. So we have 55 academic departments and 200 career technical education programs at the college. 200 programs and 55 academic departments. We've been asking our departments to be more efficient in terms of using their resources to have class offerings, but our number of sections of classes that we're offering this year is actually up in our credit area in particular. We have not made a big reduction. We are looking to see how we can offer the classes that meet the demands of the students. I think you'll hear about classes making changes, and that's because we're looking to really make the best use of our resources. So we have a strong credit as well as a strong non-credit program. In credit, we've increased our capacity in terms of the number of seats for students by 13%, and we've instituted the use of a waiting list this year so that we can better serve the students. That also shows us where the demand is so that we're able to react and make changes to our schedules and adjust accordingly. Our non-credit programs, they are down, but it's not because we're consciously making a decision to cut those programs. We're looking again at where the student demand is and looking at the number of students in the class and trying again to react to what the students are needing in the communities. Our ESL and transitional programs, we actually, if there has been any reduction, it's because, again, based on student demand, and the coordinators and our chairs are coming back and saying, this is where we need to be adjusting our schedules. But in terms of the type of classes that we're offering and offering at the different locations, we still have all of those programs going. And in terms of trying to meet the student needs, we're actually hiring instructors. So we're doing emergency hires or hiring new part-time instructors to meet all of the demands of our courses at this time.
Okay, I know there'll be many questions, but I'm anxious for our panel first to have your message out there. And let's go to our third panel.
Hi, I'm Fabienne McPhail Napes. I'm Vice Chancellor for Student Development. My areas of responsibility are admissions and records, orientation and testing, student affairs and wellness, and financial aid, that everybody wants to know about. The message on behalf of students is we are open, we're accredited, and we are enrolling. And that message has been sent out over social media, through emails, in newspaper and television ads, and we can't say that enough. We are still enrolling for fall semester. We have several classes that start late. We're hoping to implement a late start semester after midterm to try to capture some of the lost enrollment. Both Dr. Agrella and Ms. Low have commented on that we have 85,000 students that are in credit and non-credit programs on the campus. We're also governed by our associated student body. We have an executive body of student leaders from the Ocean campus, as well as student representatives at 7 educational centers in San Francisco. Those centers are extremely important. to both our credit and especially our non-credit programs. It makes learning accessible in the neighborhoods throughout San Francisco. So we're really trying to find additional ways to improve registration at those centers. And one of the strategies we had this fall was to put about 120 more counseling hours and 54 staffing hours out into the neighborhoods, into the centers, so that we could capture the enrollment. I met with student leaders on Sunday. They were in a leadership training. Their message is that we have to stay open. We have to have the opportunity to provide access in the way that we always have. Many of the students were very concerned that other students would not have the opportunities that they've had to get their education. Affordability, of course, is very important to them, and along with affordability, and we are a very affordable college, is also students need to learn financial literacy. And so we're trying to teach financial literacy as we enroll students, both really encouraging them to watch the amount of debt that they take out as they're trying to get their feet in the doors of education, whether it's basic skills, whether it's our career tech education programs, whether it's our transfer programs. We have a big GED adult education program as well. So we're trying to do a lot, and maybe at times we've tried to do too much. And so now at this point in time, at least from my end of things, from my division, we're trying to be strategic about how we allocate resources. We want to make sure that students not only use our online registration processes, but also move more towards technology to learn more about the college. We're basically moving where you all are in technology. But our core mission is to serve students. And there are places in my division where it is broken. It is very hard for students to figure out how they move from applying through the application to taking the test for English and mathematics to how do I just even get enrolled in my first class. That's still very problematic. The way we found that out is that we have many students that are in our system that are non-matriculated, which means they are not enrolled in classes at this moment. We hope to capture them as well. What we did is my staff and I called we did a random telephone survey, and we called about 120 students. Some of them didn't know classes started on Wednesday. We're like, come on now, let's get going here. And they also said, I just didn't know what to do next. Thank you for calling me. And when I mentioned this to Dr. Agrella, he said, jump on it. Find an intervention strategy so that we can capture some of these students. So we're still very actively out there, and like I say, we will continue to enroll students throughout this semester.
You've talked about working very hard. We definitely appreciate that. But if you could tell us, what are you most worried about? What do you think is going right? And where can we help?
The two critical areas for the institution in terms of the accreditation were identified to be in the area of finance and in the area of governance. In the area of governance, what we've done there is we've redefined a number of different committees. We have redefined the roles of the department chairs and working with deans, and we've created a new administrative structure within the institution itself. So that has been fairly large modifications, I might add. One of the things...
Is Dr. Naples' appointment part of that restructuring?
Part of it is, because with her appointment also came the restructuring of student development. And in Joanne's area, in the Academic Affairs Unit, part of the restructuring there came in with the restructuring of the department chairs and redefinition of the roles of the department chairs and the roles of the deans within the organization. So that's significant restructuring within the college there. And we continue to work on that, because one of the things that occurs within the accreditation, quite frankly, is that you can do something, but then what they expect is that they expect a period of time to go by, usually 1 year, in which you evaluate and then modify what you've just changed. And of course, that's another reason why you can't be at the 100% level within everything that we've done, because simply not enough time has passed. So that's a constant, what they call continuous quality improvement cycle. The problem with our financial plan at this point in time is it's going to have to be modified. So we're in the process of doing that, and we're not sure exactly what we're going to do. It can be done, that's not the issue. But we're looking at a number of different ways of doing it. And that is, I mentioned the enrollment. In California, we're paid on enrollment. And with enrollment being down, that hits us financially, so we won't have the same resources going into next year that we have this year unless we can get our enrollment up. And so that's why it's so very, very important to stress the ability to continue to register for classes at the institution and try to keep our enrollment up, so we don't get into that cycle, that downward cycle of finance that you can get into as an institution. But those were the two major areas that we're working on. Big area also that the institution, the faculty have really risen to the occasion. They've done amazing work in 12 months, and I really mean that. Is that 13 years ago, there became an accreditation standard saying that you had to develop student learning outcomes as well as institutional learning outcomes. What are the students going to learn when they exit a course or a program? How do you measure that? How do you know that they've met these learning outcomes? So it's the student learning outcome phase. Unfortunately, very, very little work was done at the institution, across the institution, for 11 years. Last year, the faculty took this on as a major, major task and made tremendous progress on SLOs. We are at a very, very high level at the present time, and I'm sure we're going to be at what they will call the continuous quality level by certainly this coming spring. So that's another area that we've made tremendous progress on. But that's thanks to the faculty's hard work in this area. I'm asked the question, are you going to close any of the centers? And my response has been, at this point in time, there is no concept of closing any of the centers. I say that, but I also want to honestly say that the operations of the institution that made this institution so great in many, many ways is not sustainable in today's economy. We have to find some other ways of getting the services and the education services as well as the student support services into the neighborhoods where people live, other than simply calling them centers. When the centers concept was developed by CCSF, it was developed under a concept that all community colleges across the country believed in, and I used to make speeches about it all the time. And what I would always say is that the role of a community college is to be all things to all people. And that meant go anywhere where you could get students and find a class and everything. That concept is becoming much, much more difficult. It's no longer sustainable given the economic model that we currently have within the state of California.
Dr. Agrella, if I could
No,
ask a question on this one?
no questions now.
allowed?
I'll ask for
Only you
Q&A.
get to ask, so if we have questions, we submit to you.
Yeah, please let Dr. Agrella finish, and then I'm going to open it
Okay,
to
thank you.
Q&A. Sorry.
So the sustainability, not only for City College, but for colleges across the state and across the country, is becoming much, much more difficult. And we're committed to continuing to offer the kinds of courses that we are offering, whether or not we will offer them in all the same locations. So obviously, the large buildings that we own, there's no question about those, none whatsoever. But we are looking at the cost of operations at all of the centers, because that's something that we have to do with respect to our accreditation activities as well. We have to prove to them that we know what we can and can't do over the long haul from a financial perspective with respect to facilities.
But I want to give the media first an opportunity to ask. So will you
Yes,
identify
absolutely.
yourself? Sorry.
National Public Radio. I'm here, actually, what you just said isn't exactly true about the non-sustainability of reaching into the community, because, as you know, City College and its future will have a disparate adverse impact on people of color and on people with disabilities. And the civil rights laws actually require you to go into those neighborhoods and make the educational services accessible to people, and not have them have to take inaccessible transportation or otherwise face barriers to reaching education. So my question is, why haven't you involved the civil rights community, and why isn't there a lawsuit counter to the accreditation body based on civil rights law?
I don't know that the civil rights, first of all, let me go back and say, I think you perhaps misunderstood and misquoted me in saying that we would not continue. I said we had to find new and different ways to continue to get into the communities that we serve. We're committed to doing that, okay? I don't think that necessarily has to involve the Civil Rights Commission. We haven't even considered that from that perspective. It just hasn't entered into our minds, because once you make that commitment to do that, you find ways of trying to do that. That way is not always building a building or renting a large complex. Another way of doing it is to use community facilities that sometimes are made available to you for nothing. There are many, many churches, other organizations, schools throughout the city that also could be used to get our classes and get students into the community. But please don't misunderstand me when I say that we are committed to getting into the communities that we serve across.
But why haven't you involved the civil rights community in defending all of this?
Well, I don't think it's necessary to involve that, but maybe I don't understand.
They're a natural ally.
But wouldn't it be the civil rights? There's so many people here who represent the civil rights of their communities. This is the great strength of ethnic media is it's an advocacy platform, and it seems to me the Leadership Conference on Civil Rights, LCCR, all of the civil rights groups, the Asian Law Caucus, it's a very good point you're raising, but it seems, wouldn't it be up to them to involve themselves?
Yes, but there's no reason City College can't reach out to them, and if they would, it was a foregone conclusion that it would be
okay.
supported.
That's a good issue to raise. Let's go to 1010.
Yes. Hi, my name is Isabel Gutierrez. I represent KIQI 1010 AM. We do Spanish radio, so we reach out to the Hispanic community. And on a daily basis, we are stressing that City College is open. We are stressing that they need to enroll and that not to be afraid. We are outreaching to the community every day. But I've also received word that thousands of class catalogs for the fall 2013 semesters were found by faculty in the basement of the administration building 3 weeks before the end of registration instead of having been distributed, and that thousands of households in San Francisco usually receive these catalogs, and this year they did not receive them. And the question is, what happened there? Why did these households not receive catalogs, and why were there boxes and boxes of catalogs found in the basement instead of being distributed?
The institution last year, I believe, in the spring, first time? Fall? Okay, fall of 12, made a decision to not mail catalogs to all the households throughout San Francisco. That was that was a decision that was made before I got there.
In what year?
12.
2012.
Fall of 12. I think that particular issue is being looked at again. It's a very, very expensive proposition, not only to print a number of catalogs. The last figures I saw, Faye, were well over $200,000 for, is it just one name?
Yeah,
One printing?
and may I just say a couple of things? The decision years ago from not only City College, but many colleges, because students use online technology, that we've reduced the number of class schedules, not the catalog is different than the class schedule. The class schedule tells you what classes are available. And because we're in San Francisco, committed to going green and being sustainable in those ways, the decision was made to not publish the class schedules. We came back, the faculty really felt strongly we need to have printed catalogs, even though research has shown that the class schedules that students don't use them like they have in the past. We went ahead and printed, I don't know how many, but I think the budget was about 175,000 or something like that.
I remember.
So maybe you can speak to the distribution, because I know that faculty, community groups, students were delivering these class schedules all over San Francisco all summer.
So we did look at the demographics of our students and decided that we did need some print schedules, and so some of them were printed. We have not sent the class schedules to every household now for many years, just because the cost is too much. And the last time that we did a mailing, there was like selected zip codes that would get the time schedules, and even at that time it was like over $200,000 just to do the mailing. So this time we did have the printed schedules, and we wanted to make those available to students. They were distributed through the public libraries, and but we had many more schedules, and so the faculty made an effort to help distribute them to our community partners. They were out in their local coffee shops, delis, wherever they would go, they helped to put those schedules out.
Okay, great. Our next question.
Hi, I'm Elaine from Singtao Daily. So I'm hearing a lot about the sustainability of the school and the institution, and it's such a great institution. I cover a lot of UC system earlier on, and there's always rally going on because they keep raising the tuition, but at least they are keeping the school open and accredited, right? So is that the same situation in City College where it can actually increase some kind of tuition, even though the value itself stands for things for all people and affordable, but at the same time, is it just about slimming down and changing all the governance and budgeting ways instead of really letting everyone to carry the burden themselves as well? And the second question is, you guys keep saying that it's open, and our newspaper has been advocating that it's open, but people don't believe it. Is there any way to push forward the date of accreditation before next year, July 31st? Because it does seem like too long of a time for people to be assured.
Yes, I want to thank both speakers for what you've done in terms of getting the word out, registering at City College, and encouraging enrollment and everything. So thank you. I meant to say thank you. As far as tuition is concerned, community colleges in the state of California cannot raise tuition themselves. It's legislatively raised. So the fee of $46, excuse me, used to be 26, used to be 0, then it went to 5, then it went to 15, and went up. You know, for BA students it was at 50, it's gone over, it's $46. That fee is the same across the state of California, so we cannot control that fee at all. In addition, you're very limited in terms of the other kinds of fees that you can charge students. There's a complete list that comes from the state level to us on what we can and cannot charge. So we're not as free to do that as a system as UC is certainly free to do that, and CSU freer than certainly we are. So that's the first question. The second question that you asked is, can we push up? Boy, we would love to do that. That's what we're trying to do, as a matter of fact. Joanne commented on, we had something like 390 some items, and it's down. We're working on all of those. It just takes time to get through all of those items that need to be looked at and either be corrected or strengthened or whatever it happens to be. And incidentally, I also want to pick up on a comment that Joanne made with respect to accreditation. If you go to our website and you look at, there's a special place on it that talks about accreditation, you'll actually see that all of the plans, you can actually call up all of these plans and see the discrete actions that need to occur in order to completely get to accreditation. But we're probably not going to get there before July 31st, 2014, and that's why it's so important to tell you readers that this is a process that's going to be an ongoing process, that while it's ongoing, we are fully accredited, we are open, and please register.
Thank you.
Hi, Jose Ricardo Mondoc, SF Newsfeed. The question I was asked by several readers was in regards to the Board of Trustees. Will there be elections for a new set, or will there be a new set of trustees installed anytime in the near future, especially with the 2014 elections coming up?
I don't believe there are any board seats in 2014 that will be coming up. That's my understanding of that. When the elections do occur, they would occur for the current seats. That's my understanding of this. They would occur for the current seats. I would say to you that I do not see a board coming back into the institution for some time to come, because I think it's going to take some time to get through all of these accreditation activities. And you please recall that one of the issues that caused the board to be taken out was the fact that the board was felt to be very politically motivated and making decisions that were sometimes not totally good for the entire institution, but only good for certain segments of the institution. So I personally believe, it will not be me, I will tell you that, but I personally believe that I would see a special trustee there for several years. We'll be there for several years.
Hi, Joe Fitzgerald from the Bay Guardian. So one follow-up and then one question. The follow-up being, I received some emails from faculty that they were actually passing out those catalogs, and then when they were found with passing out union materials also, that they were then told that they would not be allowed to pass out those catalogs, and they were actually getting hundreds of teachers with feet on the ground passing these out and then told to stop. Is that true? And if you could respond to that. And then also the second being, there are a lot of groups on the in the college that serve almost as de facto nonprofits for, the city of San Francisco. Some of the groups, like the wonderful Students Making a Change, led here by Sue Homer, who's faculty here, or involved with Sue Homer, pardon me, are wonderful groups that really help the college. But also a lot of the groups, like say Hearts, provide housing for the homeless. Will they be included in the homeless plan, in the closing plan? These groups at all, and how will those groups continue to serve San Francisco if the college were to close?
I don't know how those. I don't have a good answer for that second part. I truly don't. I think we're going to have to look at virtually every aspect of the institution. That's why that closure plan is such a massive plan to have to put together. Because it has to look at all the services that are rendered by the institution, either formally or informally. But I will say that the closure plan, from an accreditation perspective, is primarily aimed at your college, your credit students who would go on to either another institution or gain some sort of a credential. That's the primary area. I think because of San Francisco's uniqueness in history, I think it's going to probably wind up looking at a lot of the other activities that the institution has involved itself in throughout, and that's what I really mean by being a portion of the fabric of San Francisco. It truly is. The catalogs, let me comment on that. It is true that we got information. Well, a student came forward and said, here's a, it's not a catalog, the schedule of classes. Here's a schedule of classes that I got, and look what was in the center of it. And it was kind of a hit piece on the accreditation activities and so forth. And so we stopped that for about a day, because what we found out was that it was a faculty member, not some movement in the institution to do that. It was a faculty member who did that. And the moment that we found that out, as a matter of fact, it wasn't even stopped for a day. I think it was stopped for less than a day. we then made the schedule of classes, excuse me, you got me saying it, the schedule of classes available again, because it was faculty who then picked those catalogs up, schedules up, and took them throughout the city. And they
What
continued
was in
to
them
do
again?
it.
What was in them again that was questionable?
It was a document that was very critical of the accrediting commission, okay? It had nothing to do with the schedule of classes at all, and that could be deemed to be very harmful to our entire process. So that's the answer to that. I'm very concerned about the mobility of the student, a lot of the student body at City College. For that reason, I think a portion of the closure plan is going to have to be looking at how can the facilities at City College be utilized by some other institution or other institutions to carry on classes within San Francisco. Because I think it's simply not possible to say that all of the students who attend City College can just jump in a car or get on whatever it is and get to a neighboring institution. Some sort of function is going to have to remain in this city should termination of accreditation occur. That's why it's so important that termination of accreditation not occur. Okay? It must remain accredited. I know that the Chancellor of the state of California is aware of that, otherwise I wouldn't be doing this. He's the one that appointed me to this particular position. And I know that the neighboring institutions are aware of the dilemma should masses of students suddenly appear on their doorstep. That would create a problem for them. So I'm quite confident that some portion of the operations have to remain active in this.
To the public records aspect that you spoke about with the commissions, the commission said that they would not allow the records to be, the review that you sent to be shown. But do they then supersede the California Public Records Act, which requires that you just disclose these documents if they are requested? And if not, what exemptions would they fall under? And would you be worried about a lawsuit if someone were to file for a Public Records Act for these documents? And also one other thing, the closure report, you mentioned that they're not really set up to deal with non-credit classes and they're really dealing with credit transfers. So in light of City College's unique existence as an institution that serves non-credit, which is unique in the state, right? There's like 2 or 3 other institutions that do this, but not many.
Extremely large.
Yes. Is there maybe some sort of appeal you can ask for the closure plan then to address the non-credit students, which are used by many students of color in the city and immigrants?
I think in the closure plan, non-credit is going to have to be addressed, even though formally the closure plan is looking at credit students. I think we're going to have to take a look at that because City College has one of the largest, its 3rd largest or 2nd largest, or perhaps now even the largest non-credit program in the state. The other very, very large one is in San Diego, has a very, very large one. But it's an important portion of this college and generates a lot of FTES for the institution, so it's going to have to be. With respect to the Public Records Act, of course, the correction or the solution to the Public Records Act when you do it, when you receive one, is if it's true that it is a public record, then the solution to it is, of course, to release the documents. It's probably not going to be us that's going to make that determination. It would be the commission that would make that determination on the Public Records Act. If somebody were to file a suit against us, then we would have to seek a legal opinion on whether or not what the commission holds is outside the public.
But the commission is a private institution. It's not subject to the California Public Records Act.
No, but the rules would, I'm talking about the rules. The rule is from them that they say that they must maintain confidentiality, okay? If we get sued, we would turn to the commission and say, here's what we would, here's the dilemma. Let me say it this way. Here's the dilemma now that you have placed us in. Would you like to?
It's not up to them. Your hands would be tied. You would have to give up the records.
I don't know that.
I do. I'm an attorney.
I don't know that.
I do have many parents.
Okay, well, let's take your last question and then your last question. So, please.
Okay, forgive me for asking a difficult question here, but it's my understanding that representatives from the faculty and the students were not allowed to be here because had they been invited, all of you would not have shown up. Maybe that's a misunderstanding, but this is what I've heard. But what we're getting here is one side of the story. So I'm a little bit distressed by that. And a broader question would be, why is it that I keep getting the impression that City College is on the defensive and is letting this entire picture be framed by the accreditation body? Why aren't you being more aggressive and fighting? Now, I understand what you just said a minute ago about one of the faults being that you're not in good relationship with the accreditation body, so perhaps your hands are tied. But surely you know that legally, people could file as taxpayers. All of us in this room have standing to file a lawsuit on behalf of City College, protecting City College from the accreditation body. So why isn't some aspect of City College working, even behind the scenes, with people who could come to its rescue and reframe this entire situation in a way that would be more beneficial to City College and help it stay alive, and help it attract the allies it needs to stay alive?
Okay, let me answer the first question, since we were the hosts,
Okay.
not our panelists. And there was a tremendous interest in ethnic media that work with New America Media in having access to Dr. Agrella. So this was a newsmaker briefing with Dr. Agrella.
Okay.
It wasn't supposed to be the pros and cons of what they're doing, just simply a platform for our media to be able to access his perspective, his
Okay.
vision.
That's
okay,
fair.
so that's the answer to that one, and you want to answer the second?
Sure. My role is to work within the accreditation standards and the accreditation rules. That is my sole purpose of being at City College. My sole purpose of being at City College is to maintain accreditation. Okay? Maintaining accreditation in my particular role is to be sure that the institution meets the eligibility requirements and meets the standards. It is not to go behind the scenes and do other kinds of things. It is to be upfront with the commission on what we're doing. It is to be accurate with the commission on what we're doing. It is to lay out the plans and see that those plans are accomplished.